to deal with. The one thing that we're not hearing is how to best protect yourself against if you do have this COVID. We hear about vaccines, we hear about medication, we hear about all of this stuff. But what are some preventative measures? One thing that has become emphatically clear through all of this is that if you are able to somehow maintain a healthy immune system, if you do happen to contract this COVID-19, your chances of beating COVID-19 increase significantly. We live in a country that part of it is backed by pharma and pharmaceuticals and big money and medicine and drugs. So whenever I go outside, there's two places I'm seeing long lines. That's outside the supermarket and outside the Rite Aid, because a lot of us are on drugs. So a preventative measure to all of that is the food. I'm so happy to introduce Fred Doc Beasley to the program, and we can all sit back and let him school us on how to eat, how to get our immune systems up. This brother right here is the real deal. Welcome, brother. Welcome.
Wow. Thank you for having me.
We'll tag team them, right? We'll tag team with some questions. What would you say?
No, I was going to say, thank you for having me. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. I feel blessed to be amongst the great minds, and to all those people who can hear my voice, I send you positive energy and elevated vibrations during this time of uncertainty. However, I want you all to know that it is times like this where our ability to be strong is what stands out. Our ability to, even though they're saying social distancing, programs like this actually provide us with a sense of community. Yes. that is so very necessary during these times, because you need to have like-minded individuals, like-hearted people in your circle that can lift you up when you might be feeling down. So even as we start to dive into the realities of our food intake and what we put into our bodies, we should also be mindful that it's not just what we ingest physically, it's also what we ingest mentally. It's what we allow to take seed, to take root and plant in our mental and in our spirit, that then shows its manifestation in our physical bodies. So I would urge everyone at this time, to start to really tap into whatever spiritual system that they deal with. Something that my wife has been very serious on with us and our family for the last few years is, if I may just share with you, is having an altar within your house, and having that altar within your house that taps you in directly into your ancestral spirit. And what that ancestral spirit does is it provides you with a root that kind of allows us to tap into a strength that goes before so-called slavery and goes before so-called captivity, and roots us in our royalness. So, I would definitely urge all of you to plant those mental and spiritual seeds for yourself and your family. It's very important. As we start to look at some of the foods that we can do, one thing I would say is, in this time, fear is something that actually robs our immune system of its strength.
You said fear? What?
Fear robs our immune system of its strength, of its potency. So I say that to say, you have to again be rooted in your spiritual system. You have to be rooted in your awareness of a higher power, and know that you are elevated and catapulted by that, and then start to really, really, really tap into. Next would be your breath work. Taking time to do some breathing exercises. And these are things that build your immune system before you put one morsel of food on your fork. Breath work, spiritual work. then it takes us right into H2O, water. Be sure at this time that you make water one of your best friends. I'm not promoting this particular brand, but you better keep your son on deck. You better find some ways that you can continuously hydrate yourself and keep your body and your thoughts lubricated and keep your joints lubricated. And it's water. It's not. I know a lot of people like coffee. A lot of people like what they like, but the body is almost 75% water. The brain is almost 85% water.
The update, my sister. What's going on?
There's a lot going on. I want to first shout out to, thank you so much for hosting this. Thank you to all our colleagues that come on. Thank you to our frontline workers, which I always say our teachers, our administrators, our staff. They're all essential parents. So thank you for all of that, all you do to keep us together in this uncertain time. So there's a lot going on. First, I know today is supposed to be the shutdown day. The reopen day, right, for our community. But my understanding is June 6th. I believe it's the new reopen day. I'm gonna look up that data, but it's been extended. I know definitely. So today is not that day. There are some streets that are being closed off for the New York City open streets, so people could have a safe way to social distance. Which I'm having mixed feelings about that. Okay. In certain communities, because how do you, with the enforcement that's been going on, right, with social distancing, and now you're opening streets and saying, hey, come, invite you here, come and hang out type of thing. What would that look like? I know they have like community-based organizations helping with that process. So I'm going to visit one of the open streets that they have, I think on Newkirk Avenue in Coney Island area. I'm going to see what they're doing, because what are we closing down in East Flatbush? What street? Right? What would that look like for us? So I definitely want to see what's happening with that. I know remote learning, I know we should be pretty good with the iPads. I know they're focusing a lot with the students with disabilities as well. They're focusing a lot on that now. Alternate side street parking. It's been a big controversy, but they said that they have to clean the streets, so they're opening it up. I think they're doing a bi-weekly schedule for those who are.
Interactive process that happens where you're given information, but you're also gathering information. So it's beautiful, man. I think that the Board of Education would do itself a huge benefit if they would allow people to come in like yourself, right, and not have those barriers of, does this person have this degree or that degree, right? Because there's so much information that the people with degrees just aren't giving properly. So I applaud you, Mother. I applaud what you're doing.
I appreciate that, and it's something. Again, I go back to my grandmother and my great aunt in Hollis, Queens. They always talked about, there's a difference between having what she would say is a difference between having book knowledge, and she called it mother wit. Mm-hmm. And mother wit is another word for common sense. But then she would say, baby, common sense ain't so common. In a way where the foods are all healthy for you. Principal Patterson can tell you about having that fried chicken, those mushrooms, and you couldn't tell anybody in the building that wasn't fried chicken.
Not at all.
And low key, my brother came upstairs. So he came upstairs to the where the chefs were. He took a pan home with him. But
that's right.
We have a question.
Okay.
Somebody, so I want to bring them into the queue. We're going to bring in our brother Shady Duke, who's a partner with us in terms of the partnership between True SK Consultants and FLATBUSH Village. We always like to partner with our community-based organizations. They do a wonderful work out there, and just want to bring him in.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so first off, it's a pleasure to meet you and hear about your work, Dr. Beasley. That sounds so amazing. And you three gentlemen, you talked about something that's so special too, right? In this time, keeping your mind, body, and soul, right, all together.
Yes, sir.
Keeping them in tandem. That's amazing, right? What I wanted to ask is, how did you come to this to build a program like this? Right? What was your process? What was your what was the defining factor in your life that said, you know what, we need to educate our youth, we need to educate our community the way you're doing now?
Great question. Once upon a time, many moons ago, I was actually a hip hop artist myself. I had a record deal on Columbia Records, and having that record deal on Columbia Records in the early '90s, the so-called golden age of hip hop, I was a young man who was involved in all the trappings of a young hip hopper would be involved in. If you get my drift. It was realizing and recognizing at the highest level the same. Put it like this: my A&R, her name was Faith Newman. She's also credited with signing Nas. She signed Big L. That was my A&R. So I had an opportunity to see hip hop at its highest levels in a very close proximity. And I also realized and recognized how many of our vices were being fueled for our intellectual properties. I'll say it again in English.
No. So people, you make this song, I'm gonna pay you some alcohol, some weed, some this and that. I mean,
yeah. You come to the office, you got an ounce of weed, you got a couple bottles of Hennessy right there. Then you expected to do business. All right. It was once we lost a record deal when I had to step back and take an inventory of self. And I had to realize the role I played in my own demise. And I realized I had the opportunity to do shows with people like Tupac, LL Cool J, Run DMC. I mean, you name it, Wu-Tang, you name it. I rocked the stage with them. But I also realized that a cloudy mind can't do business. And it's a reason why we hear so many horror stories from our great entertainers about them not owning the publishing or them not owning the copyrights or them not owning the masters of their material.
Yep.
So I saw that firsthand.
I've heard from you the fact that you don't have a degree. That's something that they put out there, and then they don't allow us to really benefit from it so that we walk away with the message that we are not good enough. I'm so proud of the fact that you have walked away and you have still realized the beauty in yourself and the strength in yourself, and recognize that you still have a lesson, you have a value, and you have everything to deposit into our children, and you are beginning to do that. So I 100% applaud you for that.
I appreciate that.
With food, I mean, I have a concept with children, especially my children. What I do is I bring my children around people who echo the same sentiment that I have. And I think that this program is doing an excellent thing with that. Now, in terms of the food and everything else, I believe that everything is interrelated. Things are not as separated as people categorize them. In this society, what a lot of people do is they take things and they pigeonhole things into one little box and say, okay, I'm just talking about this. But when you are just talking about this, you are neglecting all of the peripheral and other factors that are contributing to the very thing that you are talking about. And in terms of the things that we are seeing with our children, there's absolutely nothing wrong with our children. Our children are basically manifestations of our thoughts and different things that go into them, and we get an opportunity to look at them as fresh and new entities, and we say, hey, something is wrong with that, but no, this is just a reflection of you that you can't see. Now back to the food that you were talking about. ADHD is one of the most overused diagnoses, especially as it relates to our young men. I believe that ADHD is something that it is basically situational, because you take that same child that has this ADHD, you put him on a basketball court or a football field, and he's the star athlete. If you look at the star athletes, they usually have these extra energy that they're talking about, but it's only problematic in where it is.
I agree with that, and it goes into. I'll take. And thank Dean Johnson for that question, but I'll take Dean Johnson to, when we really look at what hip hop is, it is a melting pot of different musics that come together, different cultures that come together. So don't so much focus on hip hop per se. Focus on being your best and your truest self, and then guess what? Your hip hop manifestation will shine through, because hip hop is not something that Kara said. He said, rap is something you do. Hip hop is something you live. It's you being authentic to you. And again, children resonate with that no matter what your social background is, what your cultural background is, what your denomination is. The children just want to be, for lack of better words, they want to be loved and respected. So I would tell all teachers and educators not to, quote unquote, focus on hip hop so heavily, but focus on being your best and your truest and most authentic self. And then that takes me right into, the organization I'm proud to be a part of, the BU, the Black Educators Union.
I'll be you, baby.
You know what I mean? And what happens is that we're in the process of rolling out not only an entire curriculum and an entire mindset curriculum, as well as best practices that educators can use to really, really tap into this gold mine of potential that we have when we talk about over what I think it's 1.8 million public school students in New York City. And we have the opportunity, and as Dr. Blake and I talked offline, we have the opportunity now to kind of begin to restructure and rethink about and reimagine how we provide education. But it's going to take people such as yourselves and people who are on the front lines, and my guy Banks over at Eagle Academy, and people like that, and Bernard Gassaway, and titans of the field really coming together and really saying, this is what we're doing and this is why we're doing it, and then being steadfast. And it's not an easy thing, but it's not impossible either.